Welcome back, guys, to my second edition, my second video from the first one that we started with was the video about the basic tutorials on how to add different devices to your packet tracer, where to find a router, where to find a switch, where to find end devices. So we've gone through that process, right? And then connecting the devices together. So I've showed you how to connect devices together. So now basically this video is mainly about administrative commands. I call them the housekeeping commands, right? So creating a password on a router, kind of like trying to secure your router so that only the people that are authorized to access the router will have access to that router. And then also configuring SSH on the router so that you can be able to remotely access the router. Sorry. So that's what basically I'm trying to go to, we're going through now, configuring those two, right? Configuring not two, but it will be more than that, right? Like the different protocols, the different services that you can configure within this. But mainly I'm focusing on the administrative commands. So that's what I'm going to be focusing on. So now I just want to add serial cables to these routers, right? Connect these routers from there. Use a serial cable there and then plug it there. Do you have a serial cable there? There I have it, one. And then serial cable from here to that router. Serial cable there. Plug it there. And then also this side serial cable. So the router that I'm using is a 2911. So you can drag in the 2911 router and then add it to this network. And then, but you can see now by default these 2911 routers, they don't come in with an HV2T card. They don't have like the serial port. So I'm using a serial cable. So I just want to plug in the serial cable to a serial port in this router. But now this router doesn't have the serial port. So what you can do in a situation like that on a packet tracer, so basically you need a serial port on these routers so that you can be able to connect them using the serial cable. So you right click on you just click on the router, and then you look for the part that says physical, the tab, the physical tab, right? The tab that says physical. And then once you are on that physical tab, you can zoom in so that you can clearly see what we have on the router there, right? So you can see we have a button there, we have a switch there, the on off button. So on this side we have like the modules, different modules. So we have like the HW2T, which can provide you with serial connections, and then we have like the HW8. We have all these different cards that you can add to the on this part so that you can have the serial ports on this router. So these these modules are not word swappable. So what you need to do is you have to switch off the router first. Switch off the router, and then you drag what you want to add there. For example, I want to add a serial HW2T card. Then I just drag that, I add it to my router. And then once you're done, you have to switch it back on, right? And then I minimize that, or I close that, and then I move to this router, because once I hover on it, you also see that it's the same router. The default ports that it has gigabit Ethernet 0 up to number 2. So I need a serial port. I need to add a serial port on this router. So same process again. Click on the router, zoom in so that you can see, and then maximize if you want to. And then on this part, you switch off the router, switch off the device. Okay, and then just drag in the HV2T card. You can add more than one. It's okay. You can add more than one. You can even add any of these cards there. You can see, and then switch it back on, and then I close that, and then now I can click on there. Even if I click on automatic there, we said this feature is whereby, let's say you're not sure which cable to use, there is an option for automatic. So if you hover on this part, you will see that it says automatically choose connection type. So the device will automatically decide or choose for you which cable to plug in. So if you find yourself in a situation whereby you don't know which cable to connect from a switch to a router or from any device to any device, you can use this part, right? You can click on this. It will automatically decide for you the port and then also the type of cable to use. And then you can see there, I don't have to decide which port to use. I click on it, and then automatically decides for me, and then same thing there. So now, as I said, that we want to go through the administrative commands, right? So we're not assigning IP addresses to this router. Now, what we're doing is configuring a password, the privileged mode password, right, on this router, and then also creating a username on this router so that we can be able to SSH to the router. Okay, so let me do this. Administrative commands, as I said, I call them the housekeeping commands. So you click on this router, right? There's my router, and then this is the tab that we're going to use to configure, right? We have used the physical, and then on config is this information, but we're going to be working on this part, which is called the CLI, the command line interface. And then it says router, and then you can see now I'm on something called the user view mode. So we have like three modes that we're going to be working on a lot, right? Of which there's so many modes, right? But for now we're going to be focusing on the three. So this part is the one we call it the user view mode. So there's nothing much, not many commands that you can type in on this user view mode. So for now, in order for you to move from the user view mode to privileged mode, you need to type in a command called enable. And then from enable, you can type in config T, which is configure terminal, right? The correct command for Cisco for CCNA when you take an exam, you must type in the complete or correct exam command, which is configure terminal. So configure terminal, you type it on privilege mode so that you can move to a mode called the global mode. So now I'm on global mode, right? Let me exit and then show you again where was I. Let me say exit again. So you can see now we're saying this is the user view mode. And then in order for you to move to a mode called the privilege mode, you need to type in enable. And then once you're on enable, we need to type in another command called the configure terminal, right? So you can also tap out. The system will complete the configure the command for you. So configure T and then tap out. You can see once you tap out, it completes the command for you. Configure terminal. This comes in handy when you're in a production environment where you want to quickly configure the router. You don't have like to type the entire command. You just say config, and then like you say config, tab out, the system will complete the commands for you. But for exams, you need to type out the entire command. So the tab command, the tab button on your keyboard, it will be deactivated. So you have to type in the entire command. All right. So now I'm inside what we call the global mode. So in the global mode, this is the platform where you can change configurations or configure your router. On the privileged mode, we said this is where you can run all the show commands. So now let me exit again. So if you want to go back one step, you use the command called exit, right? So type in exit, it will take you one step backwards. So now I'm on privileged mode, right? On privileged mode, this is where you can run all the commands to display the running configurations on your machine. So now I'm typing in show running config. It's a command that will display the currently running configurations on this machine. What configurations have been configured on this router. So as you can see there, we say no service, timestamp, log, blah, 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 no information there. So there are no, currently there's no commands that are running there. As you can see, interface gigabit Ethernet 0/0, it has no IP address configured. And then the system, you can see no shutdown. That means the interface is still down. Same with the interface gigabit Ethernet 0/1. And then same with the serial, no IP address configured. So now, as I said, I just want us to create the line console, right? And then the line aux, the line VTY, so that we can be able maybe to remotely configure this router, remotely access the router, things like that, right? So configure terminal, full command, correct command would be configure terminal, config T, right? I'm inside the global mode now. So we want to start with, you saw that this router doesn't have any password. So we want to configure what we call the privilege mode password, right? Privilege mode password. So I want to configure what we call the privilege mode password. So let me do this now. Enable password, right? And then my password is usually Cisco 123. Enter. So let me show you something here. So this is where we are now. enable password. Okay, we have forgotten to change the host name. We're going to go back to changing the host name. So we have typed in this command, right? Enable password. So the command is enable password, and then here's my password was what? 123 Cisco 123, right? So this command stores the password in clear text, plain text, right? So that it will be visible to anyone who looks at that. They'll be able to tell, okay, there is your password. That's your password. It doesn't hash your password. So this one now, the second command is also for assigning a privileged mode password. But the difference is that the secret one, it encrypts your password, right? So it encrypts your password. That's the difference between the two. So let me quickly show you. Let me say end, right? End will take you back to privileged mode. Let me do this. Let me say show running config, right? Okay, let me first save this. So right, it saves the configuration to this system. It says building configuration. We managed to build that configuration. We managed to save that configurations. Say show running config. So you can see the command that I applied now is this one, enable password. So I told you that this password will be stored in a clear text or plain text. You can see there is Cisco 123. So it didn't encrypt that password, it didn't hash that password, right? Okay, and then the command. So this works fine when, let's say, you are working on the older routers. So the older routers, they use that command, right? And then the one that we're going to apply now is mostly for, let's say, enable secret, and then the password now is different student 123. That's my password now, right? This command, we said it encrypts the password, right? So the secret or the password will be encrypted in this specific router. So let me say end, and then do right this side, type in right. So I'm saving that the configuration that I've just made, the change that I just made to this router. And then if I want to display, you can also use up arrow to bring back the commands that we have written before. So up arrow brings back the commands that we have written before, instead of you like retyping the commands again. So you can see now, enable secret, it has been hashed or encrypted using the MT5 SHA, MT5, MT5, right? And then here is still on plain text, right? So there's another command that we can use to encrypt the passwords, right? For this password that we configured using the enable password. And then down here we have this, which is called the service password encryption. This command, it encrypts the current password and then also encrypts the future password. Any password that you're going to configure in future, it will be encrypted because you have used this command. You have configured or applied this command here. So let me do that. As you can see now, all the password, that password is in plain text, right? So we see a difference now. Let me just quickly show you that. So we said the one that we applied or configured using the secret, it was encrypted using MT5, but this one is on still on what? On clear text. Okay, so let me quickly go to config terminal, config t, and then run that command, the service password encryption command, and then exit, and then use an up arrow to bring back that show running config command. And then you can see now this enable password, it has been encrypted now. So this command is used for encrypting the current password and then the future password. Any password that you're going to apply in future using this command, maybe using this command or any other command, the password will be encrypted using this, right? So these are the housekeeping commands that I'm talking about. So now the other thing is, let's say you have applied all these two passwords, right? You've applied these two passwords. So there are some other routers, especially the old routers, they don't have like the capability of encrypting these passwords. So they rely on this old command. So if you're still relying on that old command, then you can now encrypt that old command using this one. So the newer routers, they'll be using the secret. They have the capability of encrypting the passwords, right? So now if you've applied these two passwords at the same time, so we said all of these, they are privilege mode. So which one now will you type in when the router asks you for the password on privilege mode. So you will start with this one. Try out this one at the first time, because it will be asking for the secret one. It's the one that is maybe the higher priority than this one. So the router will be asking for student 123. Okay, so let me quickly go back and then try to see what was my password. I think I forgot my password now. Okay, my password is student 123, small letters, right? So back to this router. So now if you want to check, if you want to see that the router is we want to see if the router will ask us for our password when we move back to the privilege mode. Let me say exit now. Exit. You see now I'm back on what? On user view mode. So now when I type in enable, after that the router is supposed to ask me for my password, because we have configured a password for this router, right? Enable, and then ask me for that password. So we said, which password are you going to type in now? Because we've configured two passwords. We have configured the secret, and then we have configured the enable password. So we said priority, it will be for secret. So let's type in that and see if it will work. Student 123. So when you're typing in this password, you won't see the password being typed in on the screen. So, but every time you type in this, the operating system, it picks up the strokes, right? The keystrokes, and then after that, you can, once you're done with the password, even though you don't see the password on the screen, once you're done typing the password, just press enter. The system will take you in, right? So no worries, no biggie if you don't see the letters that you're typing in there. If you don't see the characters that you're typing in there, it's just that the system will be taking in the keystrokes, and then once you're done, just enter. You see, it allows us, it grants us access to this router. So we are inside the router now, again on privilege mode. So that's why we call those two passwords the privilege mode password. So you are coming from the user view mode, moving to the privilege mode. So you have to type in that password. Okay, so now I want to show you something again. Let me go back to config terminal, which is the global mode. So I want to change the router name, host name, host name. Let me give it like usually the host name, you assign a host name to a router based on the location that the router is in. So let's say I've been managing like maybe 10 to 15 routers, and then those routers, they don't have names. It becomes difficult for me to note, okay, this router is for which location, this router is for which location. So it's easy for me to note, okay, this router that I'm configuring currently is for this specific router. So this is for this specific location, right? Based on the name. So there's nothing like like wasting your time. Like let's say you're configuring, you think that you're configuring a Japan router, whilst you are inside the Johannesburg router, and then all the configurations that are supposed to go to the Japan router, they end up like on the Johannesburg router. So you need to assign them names, right? So that you know, okay, when you're working inside this router, you know which router is it, and then where is the location of that router, where is it located. So mega underscore, let me say JHB. Let's say this is the location, this is where my router is located, right? Headquarters JHB. As you can see now, the name changed. First it was router, but now it has changed to mega underscore JHB, which is the location of that router. Okay, so next thing now will be what we call the banner MOTD. Banner MOTD. And then the thing with the banner MOTD is it's a message of the day. Some they use this message as a deterrent, right? Like for the users, giving them a message, okay, only authorized users are allowed access to this router, right? So, or some they use it as a welcoming message, but I use it for as a warning message, right? To say, okay, only these people that are part of our IT department are allowed access to this router. Okay, so and then with the banner MOTD, so the character that we are using to start, so as you can see, we have the banner MOTD. So the first character or your message has to go within the character that we are using. If you're using a dollar sign, then you can you can start with a dollar sign and then also close with a dollar sign. So whatever character you start with must be the character that you close with. And then the other thing is you can't use this character inside your message. So for example, I have that banner MOTD dollar sign, and then my message is only mega IT personnel allowed access to this router, right? And then I close my message with a dollar sign. So I started my message with a dollar sign, and then there's a dollar sign there, and then I close my message with a dollar sign. So whichever character, whichever character that you start with must be the same character that you use when you're closing this message, this specific message that you have typed in there on the router. And then, as I said, that let's say I want to add a dollar sign within this system, I can't use within the dollar sign within the message. I can't use dollar sign here. Right? Let's say if I want to add dollar sign there, I can't use dollar sign there. Right? So I can't use the character that I used to start with, and then so there it is. Now enter. Okay, now I say end, and then you can say exit. You see now the message that we typed in now, the banner MOTD. So it appears here when the person start switch on your device, when they start to use your device, they will be welcomed by that message, or they will be welcomed with that warning message. Only Mega IT personnel are allowed access to this router. And then let's say enable, and then type in my password, which is student 123. So when you're in a production environment, you need to use stronger passwords. The reason why I'm using the easy passwords so that I'll be able to remember all of these passwords, right? So in a production environment, you need to use stronger passwords. Okay, so these are our housekeeping commands. So next, let me go back to my config T or global mode platform. So I need to assign a username. Okay, let me check down here. What's the other command that I need? So we have used enable command. You know where to use the enable command. We have used the terminal, configure terminal. It's the one that takes you to your global mode. And then we have used the host name command. We have used the enable password, and then enable secret command, and then service password encryption. We have used that command. So now we want to apply this command called the user, whereby you creating username for people that will be able to access this router, right? So username Melusi privilege 15. Privilege 15 means that you are the administrator of this router. You have full rights, and then 0, and then the password there in the end. Okay, let me just copy this so that it will save me time from typing the entire thing, the entire password. So let me just do this, and then I want to paste it there. So here's my command, right? Let me make sure that my password is Cisco 123. So you can see here I have username. That's my username there, right? Let me type in correctly my username. Let me type in correctly my username there. So username Melusi. So like you can give it an say username admin, or give it your name, right? And privilege 15 states that you have full rights, and then password 0, meaning that there's no level of encryption, right? But we don't need the encryption because we already have configured that service password encryption with the one that's going to encrypt all of our passwords going forward. So that's why we are just using password 0. So if you want to encrypt this, you can use maybe a 7, whatever, but we have already encrypted our password using the service password encryption command. So it's complaining about something. It's complaining about space of privilege. I always get that spelling wrong. Okay, let me change that. There's no D, right? Let me take out D and then enter. You see it accepts that. So if you type in a wrong spelling, the router will give you problems, right? So you have to type in the correct spellings there. So username Melusi privilege 15, and then password 0, and then there is my password 0, meaning that no need for encryption, and then password Cisco 123. But my device already this password is already encrypted using the service password encryption command, right? Okay, so banner MOTD, we're done with this command. So I'm just going through the housekeeping commands. So now next one we have the we want to get to the part whereby okay, banner MOTD, we're done with the banner MOTD, right? The message of the day. I told you that banner, and then MOTD stands for message of the day. And then if you start with the dollar sign, you're gonna end your message with the dollar sign with the same character that you used. Welcome to R1. And then IP domain now. Look up what is that for. So you will see that sometimes when you type in the wrong command in your router or in your switch, then the system will try to resolve whatever word that you typed in. Let me show you what I'm talking about. Let me say exit, and then let me just type in anything there. So you see the system says translating what you typed in the domain server. So it's trying to resolve whatever you typed in. But if you want to deactivate that, you can deactivate that. So once you find yourself in this situation whereby the system says translating what you typed in to domain name server, what. So it's looking for a server, a DNS that can resolve what you typed in. So the shortcut to get out of this is Control Shift and then 6. So press Control Shift 6, then it will take you out of that. Name lookup aborted. So it was trying to resolve this name that you typed in. Okay, so you can get rid of that by typing in no IP domain lookup. But for now, we need that. I need that IP domain. By default, it is on. I'm just gonna show you how to type to switch it on. But by default, it's on. Domain IP domain IP domain. Come on, how do you even type IP? Okay, let me just copy that IP. The reason why it's not completing that for me is because there is another IP domain name, so it's not sure which one do I want to apply there. So let me type in that I'm lazy. IP domain, it's complaining about something. So IP, okay, I'm on the wrong platform. So the other thing is you have to check the platform that you are on. So now I am on privilege mode. How do I know that I'm on privilege mode? So privilege mode, you will know that you're on privilege mode using what? The name and then the pound sign only. So once you find the router name and then the pound sign, it means you're on privilege mode. If you want to move to global mode, you have to type in configure terminal or shortcut config T. So now you can see I'm in global mode. So the command that I typed in there before, I can type in here, right? And then it will run smoothly. So you will find that sometimes you type in a command, a correct command, right? There's no spelling error, there's no syntax error, but the Cisco says invalid input detected. It will be because you're typing the command in a wrong platform. So just know there's only commands that will work only on the privilege mode and then only work on global mode, unless if you want to force a command to run on the wrong platform, you can use the do, start with the do and then type the command, then it will run on the wrong platform, or not on the wrong platform but on any platform. Okay, so IP domain, that's our first command there. And then we have IP domain. We want to assign a domain name, right? Which is IP domain name Cisco. You can give it your company name, right? Any for, and then say copy that and then you paste it there. So IP domain name cisco.com, right? And then I type it there. So this is our domain name for this platform. We're going to be using that domain name. And then what's your server IP address? IP name server in our network. What's your, and then copy that and then control V. Okay, control V IP domain. So we're building up our SSH nicely, right? And then here is our SSH key. Now I want to create a key. Crypto key generate for SSH. This is an SSH key. Crypto key, not like that. Key generate, enter. Incomplete command, RSA, enter. How many bits in the modules? 512. Let me use a 512 there. Then you can see now it says RSA key size needs to be at least 768 bits for SSH version 2, and then it says SSH 5 enabled. SSH 1.5 has been enabled, so SSH is running now on this router. So SSH, we're going to use SSH to remotely access or configure the router, right? So line con, let's go through these commands now. Okay, let me quickly copy this. I don't know if I'm lazy. My video is supposed to be, let me see how long my video is now. I'm on 30 minutes. I thought it was going to be less than that because I want to make my videos shorter. So okay, there quickly, let me say copy and then control V. Okay, press that. Okay, let me say transport input and recognize command, right? So okay, I have that. So let me do this because my video is reached 30 minutes. So we're gonna do the SSH on our next video, configuring SSH on our next video. So it's gonna be like a separate video from this. So we're gonna configure SSH on our next video. Let me just close this, and then we're gonna do SSH later.